One of the more interesting things about altruistic channels as I was making it or creating it was that I kept having like these ideas that I needed to kind of work through. So I began drawing these drawings, and as I was putting everything, the final touches, if you will, for the book to go out, I decided that I was going to look at the pictures again. And one of the things I noticed is that I tend to work through my problems as far as like trying to figure something out in ways that are illustrative, right? So it's like a visual aid. And I wondered if it actually had a little bit more merit than that when the book was done. A lot of the information that I came upon, like through studying and through actual, like by myself to some degree, was in line more with like being aware of things and just following the breadcrumbs. And so I thought it'd be interesting if I shared my art, what I was drawing at the time that I was creating altruistic channels, if anybody would find it interesting. And the more that I looked at it, the more I found it interesting. So it was actually a rewarding experience. But like these pictures right here that are obviously not mine, those I just put in there for color. You'll see the ones that I created. So mine are a little bit more centric to the theme of altruistic channels, which is basically dedicated towards the higher achievement for all, as far as like educational purposes, economic upturn, and equality, a balancing act for humanity essentially. And my vision was that I wanted to work with the collective conscience on something that would bridge the gap between the ethereal world, if you will, and that of the physical. And one of the things I noticed is in the physical world, we have a lot of things that we see as restrictive, but with the right lens of perspective, you can kind of see where it starts to marry one another in real life. So an example would be when it comes to like money. Everybody always says money is the root of all evil. Well, that's not necessarily true, because with money you are able to eat and you have a better life experience. And so the best way to equate it, I think, for the ethereal world, which would be the spiritual world, would be to equate it to the way that they look at books and the way that they look at learning. Everything is about learning to them, and that's how they survive. That's what they thrive on. So it's the exact same thing as money, only in a different context. Same topic, different perspective. And so things like that, as we go through the spirituality of ourselves and the bonding of the human nature with the physical, we start to manifest things that are a little bit unusual or a little bit odd. And so part of the things that I love doing is that I love working with executives, let's say, of firms. And I like working with them because I'm a strategist in the physical form. That's what I do. I just like to think in terms of strategy and long term. I never realized they would play a part into my spirituality aspect, which is more about spiritual awareness and making sure people understand that they are not just bodies, that they're souls, and that people of all faiths share one thing in common, faith. It is the one bonding agent that we all have right now. And it's the one thing that it gives us a sense of community. So as altruistic channels was coming together, I thought it was interesting how everything was mirroring itself in different contexts. And so it just was interesting to put it together. And then when I saw the piece that we're looking at right now, regarding the video of it, I just thought it was very interesting that my art had always reflected what I was thinking. Just I was working through it, so I guess I was too close to it. But if it would have been a fire, I would have burnt myself. And of course, that's the great thing about people, I guess, like me and my partner, is that like when it comes to things like that, like they're fire, I'm water. And what does that produce? Steam, air. It produces air that we breathe. And so I started to equate all of this with like an ethereal nature, a collective, if you will, like a conscious effort, a frequency that we tapped into in general. And so as we did tap into it, we kind of discovered, I think, a little bit more of ourselves in the divine and a little bit more of the divine in the physical. And that and so above and so below is that expression. And it's true. When you encounter things in the physical world, you basically look at it from the standpoint of, oh, it's just me, and everything's kind of like a pressure down on you, like you're just feeling like you're overwhelmed or that you can't deal with something. And then something inside of you, usually your intuition, which we still don't know exactly what it is, but intuition tells us that we're not. So what if that intuition wasn't intuition? What would be the crime in putting the belief back in God and the ultimate creator in life? And so that's one of the things that like I really, really want to stress with altruistic channels, is that it's not about, the name you gave it or the belief system you have surrounding it. It's about the fact that you believe in general. And if you believe in science, then you believe in science. You still have faith. Faith is the one bonding agent that keeps all of us together. And if we are, in fact, heading towards a period where the soul and the body are merging, which I believe we are, then that would be of great importance to us to understand that balance act that we're doing, to walk that middle ground, like you're looking at that screen. And so in the end, that duality is something that we are in desperate need of, because it helps further our need for the collective conscious to focus on community. Community is super important to our way of life, and something tells me that as we make a transition, whatever it may be spiritually, that we will need to be together as a team, as family. And so I just wanted to share some of my thoughts with my art to see if you guys actually enjoyed it. That's my mom. I honor her every day. And so those pictures are just now a reflection of who I am. And I kind of wanted to introduce both of them in a very interesting visual context. It's my form of art, if you will, one of them. And so I look forward to working with many of you, I hope, in professional, with altruistic channels being given towards education and specifically training for executives so that we can then take the model and enrich the lives of the autistic community, who I believe we need to contact in a communicative way. Because I think they have a lot of information that we need. You know what I mean? Like, they just possess so much power. And God doesn't make mistakes, so why would they be here unless they had a sublime purpose? And so that bridge that I'm trying to build is relevant to education and to economics and how we do it. And so all of it merges together in the end. But it's interesting for me, I'm no one. I'm no one in particular. I'm just me. And it's a reflection of who we are in general. No one is more important than anyone else in this world. And no matter what the illusions or the smoke and mirrors are that you encounter in life, at the end of the day, we all know that we're bonded by some creator. And in that creation, we have the responsibility to help the planet as a whole reach the next level of consciousness. And so that involves education and looking at things in a way that is rewarding and not separatist,